nothing happened in 1979 in Tiananmen Square in China. I just don't think anything had the fundamentals happening. As much as the government wants you to believe, the ghost of Kev is really just fake.
It's like baseball. He has a separate slot in his
It's based off of
and my mother once told me that I was adopted. My father was my mother.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to General Christory 101. The one and only course in this, or the only one and only lecture in this entire course. All right. I'm your professor, Noah Lopes. Nice to meet you all. All right, let's get it. All right, quick round of attendance. Who's here? You.
Keith.
You.
Aaron.
You. Go on.
What?
What's your name? Tell us.
Oh, Noah.
All right.
Verdun.
Meal.
Chembe Boto Singa.
Todd. All right, we're all set there. Now, I already wiped this off the board. Who gives a shit? So, how are we gonna start this, guys? What I think we should do is start with a general introduction. Questions and comments. Raise your hands. Nate.
Do you have a PhD?
No.
You're not allowed to cover yourself.
You.
Wait, he makes pretty huge dick.
Shush, Mary. Miles.
Do you like God?
No. Alright, I think an introduction is in order, right? So, this course, General Christory, is about 1. CWC, Christian Weston Chandler, formerly known as Christopher Weston Chandler, formerly known as Ian Brandon Anderson, formerly known as Christian Ricardo Weston Chandler, currently known as Jesus. Alright? We have a long way to go. Nate.
I resent that.
Demerit. Alright, so basically, does everybody here know what a lol cow is? Anyone have any questions about what a lol cow is? Nate?
A lol cow is a person on the internet that other people make fun of, and they like typically expose themselves a lot, and like people really make fun of them for that because of the way they probably act, and they're probably sometimes autistic.
Good answer. You're no longer demerited. I don't think I did. Anyways.
But I still have a question, sir.
Miles.
So how many demerits, you know, if you get 3 demerits...
3 demerits, I will like suck you off sloppy style.
Hey, yo, chill, man.
Alright, anyways, so, Christopher Weston Chandler, Aaron.
Sorry, did you say hello cow? Because by my understanding, I thought.
Alright, so Christopher Weston Chandler.
Lol cows are wrong.
Hey, shush. Class in session. Alright, Christopher Weston Chandler is a lol cow. A lol cow, as Nate said, is just some guy people make fun of on the internet. You're milking them for laughs, obviously. Very self-explanatory. Christopher Weston Chandler is world-renowned. Surprisingly, one of the most documented people in human history. Of all people, upsettingly. We know more about this fuck than we know about Napoleon Bonaparte, you know, anyone that actually matters. It's kind of upsetting, don't you think?
I'm
yes.
Or conquer.
Yes.
But now we're gonna know about him, which is also kind of sad.
It is kind of sad. Alright. Nate.
You said he's world renowned. How have I never heard of him?
No, Brazil doesn't have internet yet. Alright. Anyways, so yeah. This guy, general nuisance, right? Known mainly for his comic book Sonichu, this electric hedgehog Pokemon. Copyright, I don't know, 2007, 2008, sometime around there. He doesn't own the copyright. It doesn't exist. Don't tell him that. Anyways, so what we're here to talk about is the general history of this man's life. Now woman. Yes, Miles?
Did he smash his mom?
We're getting there. Now, let's start at the very beginning. Early childhood, 1982 to 1999. On February 24th, upsettingly close to my birthday, 1982, Christopher Weston Chandler was born into this world to parents Barbara Chandler and Bob Chandler. Alright. At 18 months old, he's locked into a room by a babysitter. Accounts vary on how this goes. Room varies from a playroom to a closet. And regardless of what happens, after this incident, completely nonverbal until he reaches 7 years old. So, not too great. By this point, his parents have already gotten him have already found out he's been diagnosed with autism, high functioning at the time, later to be re-diagnosed as Asperger's, right? Which upsets him greatly. Nate?
What's Asperger's?
Asperger's is formerly known as high-functioning autism. I don't really know the distinction.
So, how can you give a lecture if you don't even know what Asperger's means?
I know everything else. Makes any sense. Nate?
If this seems like something serious, why would they name it Asperger's?
Alright, we're gonna continue. Chris hated being autistic from a young age. Already not a great start, considering, it's terminal as far as I know. So yeah, he hates being on the short bus. That's like a thing throughout the rest of his childhood, is that that's like the main thing that bothers him in life, right? Or at least young life. Anyways, not too much to talk about. He lived in Greene County, Virginia. Don't really know where that is. He later would relocate to, what was it? Or he lived in he moved to Richmond after the thing. Later in life, he kind of implied that Greene County had like an entire conspiracy against him. We're not entirely sure what the fuck he's talking about here, but he believes the entire town was conspiring against him to give him a shit education. Don't worry, his parents did that for him. After he relocated from Nathaniel Green Elementary School, he moved to Richmond, and his parents homeschooled him for the rest of the year. Probably didn't make it any better, the fact that he didn't take any special education classes, so already pretty bad start to his life. He's already not getting a great education at this point. Also, this is where his homophobia starts. This is a major arc throughout the rest of his life.
The homophobia arc? Yay!
Yeah, yes.
Well, I have a very valid question. How is it that this homophobia arc started this early in his life?
Miles,
well, let me answer that question for you. See, he had some choice encounters with the principal of his old elementary school, who he believed to be a homosexual. They weren't sexual assault in any way. It was more of just the guy was kind of a dick to him, and he blamed it on him being gay.
Amazing.
Yeah. So pretty much that's it. And then he used that as a scapegoat as to why he hates gay people for the next 30 some odd years. Nate?
You should stop talking about homophobia. Miles is gonna start relating to him.
Hey yo, chill, man. Yo, excuse me, it's a lecture. Excuse me.
Alright,
That was quite profane.
I'm sorry.
Alright. Shush. Now, after he moved to Richmond, an incident happened with an animatronic bear. No. Shush. This is not a meme. And no, it was not in 1987, but it was scarily close. It was 1989 at this point. He goes to a mall, and comes into contact with a group of animatronics singing animatronic animals, right? So he meets this guy named Leonard Berenstein. Jewish bear, yeah. Don't know about that. So anyways,
Fazbear?
Yeah, Freddy Fazbear. So Christopher Chandler meets Freddy Fazbear, and the bear is being controlled. It's like a singing orchestra. It's Leonard Berenstein's the singer. All that. He has all his backup guys, whatever the fuck. So Leonard Berenstein's being controlled by someone in the background who can interact with kids. So the guy. Chris walks up to him. He loves the show. Goes up to the bear and he says, "Hey, what's your name?" Christopher says, "My name is Christopher." The man controlling the bear misinterprets this and hears Christian and says, "Oh, Christian." Chris's dad, Bob, takes this as a sign from God that he was meant to be named Christian his entire life. It was implied. His dad implies that he meant to name him Christian in the first place and that he pussied out of it. I don't know why. Why would you pussy out of naming somebody something? That's kind of stupid. But regardless, a week later, Christopher's name is legally changed to Christian Weston Chandler, what he is now. Well, later changed again. We'll get into that. After that, let's see. I forgot to write up here officially, but high school is a big part of his life. It's a very short part on this list overall, but it does make up a very important part of his life. So this is where his attraction to women started mainly. Demerit.
I'm sorry.
Anyways, so this is where his attraction for women started. A lot of the time, he started making these friends at school. Most of them were girls. There was like 2 dudes that liked him, and I'm pretty sure a lot of it was like a buddy program sort of thing. And he started calling them his gal pals. He'd hang out with them all the time. They were like the only people at school that talked to him. He had a great time with them. They came to his birthday parties, everything, right? He started to fall in love with these people. And listen, at that point, it was like normal, right? It's just a teen. He's a little bit socially inept. Not too bad. Whatever. Continue. Another thing that happened in high school. Sonichu was created. Now, the reason that this happens is because he's taking an audio arts class, and he has to make taking a visual arts class. He has to make an album cover for an album that doesn't exist. And so he decides, I'm gonna take my 2 favorite things in the world, Sonic and Pokemon, and combine them together. And he makes Sonichu, the electric hedgehog Pokemon. I'm not gonna be talking about Sonichu a lot here. There's 2 entire lectures on YouTube of just about the comics. They're like batshit insane and very autobiographical. This is where we get a lot of the information about this guy. So I'm not going to talk about him too much here. I will mention some of the funny stuff later on, or some of the more alerting things later on. But as of right now, it's not too important. All you need to know is that this is a major character in his life. And also, the first OC that he makes, an original character, is Bionic Sonichu. Not because it's like a bionic hedgehog, but because he likes basketball. And basketball starts with B. Miles.
So is that content for the advanced course 211, or will we be tested on that?
No, it's not a part of the class. We'll get back to that later. We'll mention it as necessary. Nate.
Was Sonichu getting an adaptation from Netflix?
No, it almost got an adaptation from Nintendo, and then that fell through.
Oh. Wait, actually?
No. You're in the right room.
Chill.
He made honor roll, and he was the basketball team manager. His jobs on the basketball team included getting water for the players. He got an F in English class. That greatly upset him, mostly because he submitted an essay that was half English, half garbled Spanish. Also, at this point, in his Spanish class, he very much loved Spanish, and he got a name in Spanish, be more in tune with the class, Ricardo. He loves that. He basically just makes it a middle name for himself, besides Weston. So a lot of his essays, Christian, Ricardo, Weston, Chandler. Anyways, now, absolute tragedy strikes. The worst thing possible that could happen to him happens at this point in his life. He graduates. This is the downfall. We peaked. This is it. 2000. We got another 22 years to go. And this is the peak. It only gets worse. It's really bad.
Same.
One other thing, Chris is very entitled. Alright? This is a major theme throughout the rest of his life. He's very entitled. This happens when he's younger. He goes to GameStop and he wins a sweepstake for Sonic merchandise. He gets $1,000 free Sonic merchandise, and that goes to his head. The earliest footage we have of him is from a news clip of him when he's 7 years old, and he's being interviewed by local news in Virginia, and he's talking about how he won this contest, and you get to see his parents and whatnot for the first time. Earliest known footage we have of him, especially later on, it gets a lot more somber knowing that. Aaron.
Would you say a general theme of this lecture is what good Sonic merch does to a motherfucker?
No. if you were bad at analyzing,
it's a saga, just kind of points where it's.
If we were bad at analyzing, then yeah, maybe.
Interesting.
Miles, bro.
Miles, can you turn off your ringtone, please?
Oh.
Shouldn't that count as a demerit?
Demerit 2.
Oh.
Thank you. Alright, anyways, now we move on to early adulthood. This is where some of the major parts of his life start to come into play, right? So, general topic, we already talked about Sonichu, sort of talked about women. This is a major, plot point throughout the rest of his life. XL Saga is just some shitty anime he watches. I think I wrote it up there because I thought it's kind of funny, but that's relevant later. Love Quest. This is where the Love Quest starts. This is obviously one of the worst decisions he's ever made. Basically, After high school, Christian went to PVCC, Piedmont Virginia Community College, where he began working on getting a degree for computer-aided drafting and design. Generally, a two-year degree. It took him 5 years. So if that gives you an idea how good his parents' education did him, there you go. Hey, yeah, there you go. Yeah, he's a perfectionist. 21st birthday marked the beginning of his love quest. Yes, Miles?
So, this is a hypothetical assumption, but do you theorize that if he had superior childhood education, he would actually excel to become an just super giga chad wizard?
Yes.
Or is that?
I think his lack of like proper education is a major factor in how fucked up his life is. There's obviously more external factors. He's from a low-income family that doesn't exactly treat him the best. At this, especially like around here or so, they're pretty shitty to him. So like probably that also definitely makes it worse. But his lack of proper education just makes it harder for him to comprehend basic things and come to terms with reality. You know what I mean? So if that answers your question, there you go. But it's not easy for him to rationalize what happens in front of him all the time. Anyways, so he goes to PVCC. He starts his love quest. His love quest is his eternal quest to find a girlfriend. Now, this is a lot harder than you would imagine. I'm sure some of us have had problems in here getting a girlfriend before. Now, this will put your problems in context, I guess. So, Christian is 21 by this point. He's
Why you keep looking at me?
You're fine. Anyways, by this point, Chris describes himself as a virgin with rage. Those are his words, not mine. Self-proclaimed virgin with rage, Chris Chan, right?
Raging virgin.
Yes. Now, he meets a girl named Megan. Now, this comes in like later in this saga a lot, but there's a place he frequents called the Game Place. It's spelled exactly like this, with two lowercase e's. Don't know why. Anyways, owned by Michael Schneider. Aaron, I blame this on you again.
Oh,
Yo, messing. Miles.
Is there a potential cult called the Raging Cult?
No.
Raging Bull is a good movie.
There you go. Alright, anyways, so.
Raging?
Shush. Don't say nice. Aaron.
I would like to apologize on behalf of all Jews for the actions of Michael Schneider.
Thank you. His actions will become relevant later. Nate.
Is he related to Rob Schneider?
Yeah. Anyways, so he meets a girl named Megan here. She is another girl that frequents the Game Place. It's, generally like a place you just go to play like card games, Magic Gathering, stuff like that. Pokemon trading card game at this point was really popular, even though it's a pretty shit card game. Chris loved it, right? He just loved Pokemon in general. He loved to go there. Generally didn't play that nice with the other kids. He was pretty mean. He got banned from the Game Place later on, but it's not super important right now. What's important is that he met a girl named Megan, and Megan is his first like heart suite, as he calls them, because he doesn't know sweetheart. He mixed up the order on that one a little bit. Anyways, his heart suite Megan. She wanted nothing to do with him. She tried to be nice to him just because, it's nice to do that to people. There's a lot of really creepy photos of him and Megan together. There's like this really creepy one where like he like towers over her and he's like hunched over like the hunchback at Notre Dame.
No.
Dude, listen to the way I pronounce that, huh?
Not
Anyway, yeah, Notre Dame.
It's French, it's not even Portuguese.
Anyways, so, like he's really creepy. It's not great. Anyways, he emails Megan a lot, trying to get closer to her, whatnot. It doesn't go well. She keeps telling him to back off, quit touching her in her emails and stuff. A lot of the emails give us insight into what happens. A lot of this isn't recorded or anything like that. Much of this is just gotten through emails we got from him because he gives away his account information, like it's fucking candy on Halloween. Right? Like, we have access to pretty much everything this fucker has done. We have baby pictures of this kid. Like, when I say he's the most documented one of the most documented people in human history, I mean it. Like, this doesn't cover half of what we know about him. This is like bare bones to like the nth degree. And also, a lot of this shit is from like a forum site that mostly likes to make fun of him. So I had to weed out a lot of that shit, anyways, because it doesn't give an unbiased look at it. Miles.
So, in the future level courses, will there be like theory quizzes on some of those forum topics? Or?
Maybe. We'll think about that. Depends on how far we get into this. Who knows, I might get fired after this far, Don.
Are we trying to perpetuate the opinion of these like forums that kind of mock him, or
no? So we're not with this course. I don't hope. Okay, so the general atmosphere surrounding Chris Chan has evolved over time. Originally, around when the classic Chris era started, from 2007 2011, right? That was like when he started getting memed on pretty fucking hard. Actually, you know what? All right. Let me finish covering this real quick, and then like this whole section covers that. So basically, Megan is a girl he meets. It's just really creepy. Eventually, she's like, drops him entirely. And why that happens becomes more, important right here, right there. Besides that, we have PS3.
Metal Gear.
Yeah, Metal Gear, solid, big fan. He's not. No, he's never once played one of those games. He loves PlayStation. He hates Xbox, like with a fucking passion. He calls Xboxes Hexboxes, like, because he hates them so much. Anyways, he wanted a PS3. He had a Wii, but he didn't play it. He didn't want a Hexbox, and he ended up just buying a Hexbox anyways down the line because he's a hypocrite. That's another thing that comes important later. He thought that PS3 would like fix all the problems he was having in his life. It didn't, but it did make him a bit happier. Now, PS2 was one of his favorite consoles. He loved playing Parappa the Rappa. That's PS2, right? Or is it PS3? PS1? Alright.
PS0.
It's a PlayStation game, right? He loved Parappa the Rappa. At some point, there's a Parappa the Rappa, like, acapella, like, contest, right? Yes, Nate?
You mean to say Chance the Rapper?
Yeah. So Chance the Rapper acapella contest, right? Christian put his own, he put his entry into the contest, and, like, the prizes that you get, like, a free, like, paid trip to, like, San Diego or whatever the fuck. And, you get, like, a bunch of games and shit from PlayStation, right? So all this happened. So he submits his entry, right? Yes, Vardon.
It was PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1? Okay. So, PlayStation 1 submits his entry for Parappa the Rappa contest, right? After that happens, he gets to, like, 3rd place. And, like, his entry was shit. We can find recordings of his entry online. They're pretty common, and, like, it's really strange. There's, like, a bunch of weird video editing, like, Windows After Effects shit, like, thrown on top of random footage of him just, like, dancing and singing it terribly. It's really funny. Anyways, he got to, like, 3rd place just because of, like, the sheer amount of, like, no entries to this. But he gets to 2nd place, and he, like, posts all over the PS3 or the PlayStation forums being like, vote for me, like making multiple email accounts, like hundreds of email accounts to like say, vote for me on this. He gets beaten by a dude named Adam Stackhouse, and he fucking hates him now. This starts a like a decade-long vendetta between him and Adam Stackhouse that doesn't get resolved until like 2014 or something like that, where he keeps emailing Adam Stackhouse and making call-out videos to him saying, you're a piece of shit, I should have won that contest, mainly because he was going to use the trip to San Diego as an excuse to bring Megan with him, which he believed would get him to lose his virginity when she goes with him to San Diego. So basically it's a veiled attempt at sex, right? Not great. Megan also stopped talking to him for the first time after this happened, mostly because it's pretty creepy, right? Yeah, didn't like it. She saw his post on the forum and was just like, this is pretty gross. Another thing Megan did, she was a My Little Pony fan.
She's a brony?
Yeah, she's a brony. Chris started getting into My Little Pony because of her, but mostly because he wanted to fuck her. And not because he was into it, but he did keep that. Like most of the times when people fuck with him or they hang out with him, he'll take a piece of them with him, like after they leave. So you can very much see like the influence everybody has over him over time, except for common sense. He never picks up any of that along this entire time. Who would have thought? Alright, anyways, early adulthood is over, right? That pretty much covers his entire stay at college and everything. So like, now we're moving on to the classic Chris era. Oh, one last thing. Early adulthood, he got a job at Wendy's and he got fired. Now, we don't know exactly why he got fired, but it's theorized that he did a Donald Duck impression to a child and it made them cry, and his boss just fired him on the spot because of it. Chris does a really good Donald Duck impression.
What's up?
Yeah. No, yeah, it's not fair. No, but like it's like surprisingly good.
Shitty kid, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Kid's fault.
All right, Nate.
Will we be getting snacks later?
After the lecture. Nate.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yes.
Thank you.
Actually, may I go to the bathroom?
Oh, okay. May I go to the bathroom?
You can't. So.
Yes, Nate.
May I go to the bathroom?
Yes, you can. Miles, you had a question?
You know, I just thought that little mishap over there was a little bit of a demonetary, you know, event, you know. So, did you give him a demotion?
Monetary demotion. Demotion to what? Like,
Because it was a very demonetizing event, and I just.
Demerit taken away.
can you
From who?
demonize him, please?
It's taken away. Yeah.
Why?
Go back to 1. I don't know. You deserve it.
Look at that
Hey, shush.
So, this guy,
Christian.
Yeah.
Chris Chan. So, okay, let me explain something real quick. His name is Christian Chandler. He's into anime, and like Chan is like a suffix that they add on to shit. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it works. I don't know Japanese at all. Anyways, he likes anime. He did not know about that whole thing, and like when he did the Chris Chan thing, he just shortens his name to Christian to Chris and Chandler to Chan, and just calls himself Chris Chan because it kind of sounds like Christian. It's weird. All right, so continue.
So he had a really good Donald Duck impression, right?
Yeah.
Does he follow with that through the rest of his life, or?
I mean, like it never goes away. He has a very like squeaky voice. It's a really irritating voice to listen to for long periods of time, and it makes it kind of hard to empathize with him when shitty things happen to him. But I promise you, you're not gonna want to empathize with him after like like here-ish. You know, it happens certainly at the end, but you know. All right, Miles, and then Bardon.
What does ED stand for?
Encyclopedia Dramatica, or as Chris Chan called it, Encyclopedia Dramatica. Because he doesn't know how to speak. Also, he's from Virginia. He has a slight southern accent. Continue.
So he has a really shitty voice, right? And,
Yeah.
You did listen to his videos a lot for this lecture. I kind of thought you for that. I will not go through that yet.
All right. Anyways, now we're on to the classic Chris era. So. This is where shit hits the fan real bad, right? So, a photo, like a shot in the dark, right? A shot rings out in the night. A photo is taken of Chris at the game place, just looking like an absolute fucking, just goob, right?
Is that a racial slur?
Goob. No. Goob. No, it's not. It's just like goober. You know, like that kid from, what's that movie, Todd?
The Robinsons.
Meet the Robinsons, yeah, that one.
Okay, gotcha. Just had to make sure.
Thank you. Aaron.
Can you please define goob?
Goob, General Goober.
Okay.
I don't know. Just like a fucker. I don't know.
A fucker.
Hey,
a
language
schmuck, if you will.
teacher. Schmuck.
Hey, demerit. I'm sorry. You're fine. No demerit. All right. Anyways, so a picture is taken of Christian Weston Chandler at the game place. His frequent hangout spot where he went to go hang out with children and whatnot. Wasn't creepy. He just liked Pokemon and other children activities, right? He goes there. Some guy who works there takes a picture of him, posts it on the Something Awful forums, right? Another shitty forum site. Basically how it happened is there was just some forum about video games or something, and the entire forum got completely derailed when some fuck just posted this guy as a reply to something and said, look at this shithead, basically, he explained gave a rough outline of him. Sonichu, name is Chris Chan, general lolcow from my area, right? People fucking lose their mind over this. It's big on Something Awful, it's big on 4chan, it's general thing on the internet, early-ish 2000s internet. Big deal, right? Because people love lolcows, or at least, these fucks on the internet do, right? They love lolcows. Another person to just make fun of for hours on end.
Question.
Saki.
Is it like EDP is right now?
Similar. Yeah. I think an example of it might be I don't know. Anyone got any examples? Miles, do you have any example? You're like, you know, like what a lolcow is. I feel like you might know.
Oh yes, I have.
Give me like an example that's like pretty mainstream.
Well, you're putting me on the spot here. I'm gonna have to, think of it.
That's a
You're
demerit.
done.
No.
Very even
I have the answer, please, Professor.
All right, what is it?
Wojak.
No, it's not.
Almost.
All right, anyways. I don't know. Just think of like anybody on the internet that just gets clowned on the regular for laughs. You know what I mean? Oh, if you're thinking like Wings of Redemption and like early Call of Duty days, if you guys remember that guy.
The Island Bros.
The Island Bros, I guess. Yeah, like something like that. Just it's like a general fucking dead horse to kick when you're feeling down, right, Miles?
Now that I got the memory,
All right, spit it.
So there are quite a few examples. We have Low Tier God.
Okay, Low Tier God, that's one. Good fucking example. Low Tier God's a lolcow to the nth degree. That fucker gets clowned on every single day of his life. Lolcow, good point. Like, give me two more and then you're done. You don't have to give me two more if that's it.
I mean, what's her name? Ocasio Cortez?
No. Not counting members of Senate. All right, we're done.
Do you mean Joe Biden, if anyone?
Yeah. No, we're not.
Oh, perfect.
These are not like people known to the wider world. These are like
personality.
just fuck. These are like internet shitheads, right? That's all they are, right? So Chris becomes a huge lolcow. People love fucking with this guy. Immediately, an Encyclopedia Dramatica page is made about him. Basically, an Encyclopedia Dramatica page, or the website Encyclopedia Dramatica is. Basically a site just made to document lolcows. So it's a site, you'll find any number of these shitheads that pop up here and there on the internet. Generally, just like any of the early, I don't remember a lot of them. There's the guy who made like Temple OS, shit like that. Cube, or
I know this
Cube, like Time Cube, shit like that, right? Like pretty big lolcows. Like those are examples, right? So he gets an Encyclopedia Dramatica page made about him with like all the information that they know about him currently. This like makes him upset, but for the wrong reason. He assumes that somebody made this page on him because he has fans of his comic books. He posted it on the internet on his own page, sonnetu.net or sonnetu.com, whatever the fuck it was, right? He posted on his own site. He thought these were fans and that they were merely, confused about, what his life was like or what kind of person he was. And we're back. Alright? From our little intermission. No big deal. Alright. So, right where we left off, it's like ED page. It made fun of him a lot. He didn't like that, right? So what he thought that they were fans and they were just confused about him. So he started to do something called an information overload, which is something he made up. Basically, he put a bunch of like just true information, just autobiographical on the page, and we know it was him because he wrote it in first person, first off. So like that was a dead giveaway for like a wiki page. And then also he would sign it as well. He would sign his own entries like in like quotations or like parentheses. So like it was pretty obvious, and they also had the log saying that, but like he put like a bunch of true information saying like all this shit, right? And so we found out a shit ton of stuff about him. We found out I'm not gonna get into it here. There's so much, just like a ton of new information. We found out that like he shits himself a lot. Like he's pretty incontinent, so not great. We saw like. I think he has like pictures of his dick up there. No, that wasn't up there yet. He talked about like his sex doll, Officer Nasty, which is like a blow-up doll, so it's like really gross. And he just like pumps his load into that every once in a while. He talked about recycling, but not the kind you're thinking of. Chris had like some fucked up thought in his mind that like you only have a set amount of sperm in your body when you're born, and when you use it up by jerking off, like it's gone. So he would like do it into like a cup with Fanta, and then he would just take it back so he didn't lose any of his children, Hey, he was concerned about his fertility, that's okay. It wasn't affecting anybody except for him, so I guess that's a plus for once. Aaron.
Are there any scholarly articles disproving the recycling theory?
Like all of them. Like anyone with like two eyes.
All the ones that don't prove it, disprove it.
Yeah, raise your hand.
Oh, demerit.
Be up thin ice. Miles.
I have a very quick question. Is
Yes.
that something you would do or consider?
No. Alright, anyways. Yeah, so that we got a lot of information out of that, like a lot of starting information, and it like the trolls were already like really like freaking out about this, and they like sunk their teeth like even deeper into this after that. They were like they were like, holy shit, this guy is ridiculous. Like we gotta fucking get as much out of this guy as we can. Immediately, Blanca appears. Blanca Weiss, named because Blanca and Weiss mean white in the same language. Oh, one last thing, really quick. Back here in college, in his love quest, he made something called an attraction sign. Basically, it's just a sign of all the things you have to be if you're gonna date him, including like you have to be like either 18 or like his age, right? Like or like and somewhere in between there. You have to be white, not autistic, rich. You have to be able to drive. I think that's like it. Like it's pretty much it's a pretty thin list for someone who's like not great looking and also smells pretty bad. And he like on the sign it said like if a dude reads this like kill yourself because he had this thing called like the infinitely high boyfriend factor because every girl he asked out would say they already had a boyfriend. I wonder why that was. So yeah. Anyways, he had an attraction sign. Blanca was named Blanca Weiss because it just means white, or it just means white to make fun of his racism. Blanca was not a real person. It was a group of trolls acting as a girl on the internet, and Chris immediately fell for this. And went like head over heels for it because it was a girl that gave him attention. Blanca convinced him. Another thing he had is he had a little medallion, like a necklace that he made of Sonichu around his neck all the time. It's made of like Crayola model magic. And it was like the source of all his power, basically. It was like his most prized possession. Blanca convinced him to mail his medallion to her, and then immediately the trolls made a video of them like destroying it and setting it on fire, and they posted it online. Chris, reconciled this by saying, "Oh, that was a fake, and I shipped you the fake because I knew you guys were trolls." So like, joke's on you. And then he had like a new one that he obviously like just made, right? All right. Anyways, that's it. That's fake girlfriend number 1 out of like 3,000. Next, the game place. Game place. We already know what that is. Place he frequented. He got banned from this place a few times, mostly for yelling at kids when they wouldn't let him play the way he wanted to play. Right? That's not a sexual innuendo. He was just childish. Let me think. That's pretty much it. He hates Michael Snyder and he calls him like a Jew. Like he screams at him like "you Jew," like really bad, not great. He's pretty like this is like another part like where racism starts coming out in general. Like he's pretty racist and it's not great. But this is like the tip of the iceberg. That's pretty much it for this. Jimmy Hill. So somebody convinced him that somebody took his Sonichu comic and then just printed it on like actual paper and like released it in Europe and they were making money off it. It was a guy named Jimmy Hill. So he was like dead set on like he fucking hated this fictional man named Jimmy Hill and he like sent him death threats and shit. It never went anywhere, but it was funny. Now you have Clyde Cash, a major antagonist in his life. Clyde Cash, he just like fucking with him. He made up like this fake backstory. Yes, right on.
So who actually sold his comics online?
Oh, nobody. He just made it up, but Christian doesn't know how to check information. So like, one common thing is that he will believe almost anything. He's like one of the most gullible people on planet Earth. So like, they could tell him absolutely anything and he buys it immediately. And a lot of that is because the line between fiction and reality blurs a lot for him. And it certainly does that more as we get towards the Renaissance and Transcendental Awakening. Also, quick side tangent. All these like names and shit, so all these things here are names of sagas. They're named like sagas like fucking Dragon Ball Z shit, like the Frieza saga, Cell saga, shit like that, right? Because all the people that documented and thought it'd be funny to name it like that. But the website I got a lot of these names from are just like they either try to they use names to make fun of him or which is like not inherently bad all the time, but sometimes it's just overblown. And then other times they just do it. Or they make the name it in a way to make it sound like overly cool for just talking about some, fat autistic kid who just like is poorly adjusted to the real world, right? So like, you know, first exile, second exile, the Dark Ages, transcendental awakening. None of these are terms that Chris himself made up. They're just, you know, they exist because the guys who document this fucker made them up. Also, they're called Christorians. Alright, side tangent over. Now, Clyde Cash, major antagonist, he makes up this story that after finding out that Chris Tran was no longer drawing his comics for like a brief hiatus, he killed himself in like a car crash. So Clyde Cash pretended to be like his twin brother to like he was coming back to troll Chris to like get back at him for killing his brother, you know, or like being related to his fake brother's death. So he just fucked with him. Chris like hates this guy. He sends him death threats and he makes like he just does like all manner of shit to like get back at him. He makes like a joke, like a really fucked up joke about 9/11 for some reason in like one of his videos. I think he's like comparing the tragedy of him getting trolled to like 9/11. It's like really bad. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's not great. It's not a great look for him. That's basically it. All you need to know is that like a lot of this, there's a lot of overlap here. I'm not covering that here because there's way too much to talk about, but know that like Clyde Cash is like like he starts in 2000, he's here for like 3 years. So like while all of this other shit is happening, Clyde Cash is basically there. Like all this stuff like overlaps. So this guy's getting fucked from like multiple angles. He's getting spit roasted like 3 times over. It's bad. Alright. Clyde Cash, we're done with that. We're not talking about it really we're not going to talk about him too much after this. Pantyhalo is like a second fake girlfriend, I think. Yeah. Second fake girlfriend, another group of trolls pretending to like him, whatever the fuck. He left. He stopped talking to Pantyhalo after she claimed that she was carrying Clyde Cash's child. Not real, because it's not a human being that's doing this. So obviously fake, but just did that to fuck with him. Chris Chan believes that Pantyhalo died in the Australian bushfires, like in his time. No evidence for that. She lived in he said that Pantyhalo said that they lived in Australia, but she lived like nowhere near where they happened. Chris just like saw that on the news and he's like, oh, she's dead now. Because I guess he thought like the entirety of Australia like burned down. He doesn't fact check a lot of these things. It's not great. Now, the Miyamoto saga. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar. Shigeru Miyamoto, current president of Nintendo. Chris was under the impression that Shigeru Miyamoto reached out to him because he wanted to create a Sonichu game. So some trolls reach out to him pretending to be Miyamoto and Reggie Fils-Aimé, the former U.S. president of Nintendo, right? So they reach out to him saying, hey, we want to make a Sonichu game. So like, tell us all, or like, you know, give us game ideas, whatnot. So he gives them all these game ideas. He sends them like a PowerPoint presentation, makes a bunch of videos about it. Most of them are like autobiographical. He barely talks about the game at all. The only thing we really know about the game is he basically just wanted a Sonic game, but with Sonichu, or a Pokemon game, but with Sonichu characters. Like, he didn't really expand on it that much. He didn't give it much thought. He was mostly just like talking about how great he was to Miyamoto, fake Miyamoto. Anyways, so like they set up these like fake interviews for him to go to that are like across the country just to like drag him out of his house. But Chris like comes up with these shitty excuses like, oh, like I'm on my couch and I'm like really tired and I don't want to do it. So then Reggie like sends him an email and says like, we're not making this game. You're such a shithead. And they like insult him for a little bit and just like they just like make fun of his work ethic. One thing that's like a consistency throughout a lot of these trolls is that they don't necessarily fuck with him just to fuck with him. A lot of them will do that, but a lot of them are like influenced by like a virtuous task, like a virtuous calling, I guess. Because a lot of them are like telling him to like do better. They're like telling him like, oh, clean your room, like help your mom around the house and shit like that. Like they're trying to make him a better person, and he just doesn't listen at all. And then the people that do fuck with him like ruin the whole experience for him. So then he trusts the people that try to make his life better even less. So like the people that like genuinely do just try to fuck with him, just like unabashedly like exploit him for money and shit like that, are like looked down upon the community. Like even at the time they were like seen as like shitheads because they weren't trying to like help this poorly adjusted man. Oh, like obviously they were doing this to fuck with him because it's hilarious. Or at least it was at the time. But it's there's a tinge of like wanting to help him a little bit, like secretly wanting to help him, right? Anyways, so Miyamoto saga's over. Julie, fake girlfriend number 3, massive dick. turns out it's a 13-year-old on the internet called Blue Spike. Really shitty person. I wrote here sex tape. Oh right, so he got Chris to send him a video of. He got Chris to send this 13-year-old child a video of him like fucking his like blow-up doll Officer Nasty. It's really gross. I saw it on accident, like a gif of it earlier. It's really gross. Like I saw like his naked sweating
accident.
Huh? That I saw it?
Yeah.
Yeah, trust me, I have gone this far without seeing his penis. I don't want to see it now. Question.
On God, it was an accident.
Yeah, on God.
Word to your mama.
Word to my mom.
Okay.
It was an accident.
Question.
No homo, right?
No homo.
No,
I
no
guess.
homo.
Who gives a shit, Miles? Anyways, yeah, this is like another thing from the comic that I don't talk about, but all you need to know is that Julie here makes Chris, forces Chris to make Billy Mays the mayor of his fictional town, which is basically just Charlottesville. So Billy Mays is like now the mayor of Charlottesville, which is called Quickville, based off his initials. He also shoves his medallion up his asshole because Julie tells him to, and he makes a video and sends it to her. It's pretty gross, and then he like shows it off, and it's like it's not a good picture. Trust me. Question.
Did you also happen to accidentally watch that video?
The trolls like hated this fucker, and they got like booted off the fucking website. Chris was going to drive like all the way to Ohio. He lives in Virginia, obviously. He was gonna drive all the way to Ohio to like supposedly save Julie from Clyde Cash because he thought like she like made him believe that Clyde Cash was like holding her at like gunpoint. He was gonna drive like all this way just to save this this fictional woman that might fuck him. Anyway, that's it. Emily. It was a girl he actually knew in his town, like a girl that he knew started fucking him in real life, at least on the internet. I think this is where it happens. This is where he hates pickles just because he doesn't like pickles like on food. But this is like where his obsession with hating pickles comes from because he goes out with a date with Emily to the mall, and they go to the mall and then like they round a corner. And then like a large black man in a pickle costume is standing there. This is real. I'm not making this up. Like a large black man in a pickle costume is standing there in the mall, and then like Emily just like falls head over heels for him. I think this is Emily. I'm pretty sure I have this right. So Emily like falls like head over heels for him, like just runs away with the pickle man. And then for the rest of his life, for the rest of this, Kristen is just like, pickle man got me again. he believes that like all of his woes and shit like that because this very large black pickle man is like abusing him online and shit. Question.
How are we so certain of the race?
Because they sent a picture of it.
Okay.
Of course, they had to take a picture.
Was there a mask or?
No, it was a dude.
He didn't have a,
it was like a pickle costume, and it was just like his head poking out.
Okay, that makes more sense. I thought it was like a full body.
No,
you
can see his face.
He was a black pickle man.
Why
also feeds into his racism. Next question.
Why is this man in a pickle costume?
Because he already dislikes pickles, and for some reason also because they're like an innuendo for dicks, and he hates dicks because he hates gay people. Did I mention his homophobia? Yeah, I did. He hates dicks, and pickles are like a sexual innuendo for dicks, and you know.
I've come for your pickle.
In short. Alright, that's over. Ivy Saga, another fake girlfriend. This is like number 5 or some shit. He puts her into the comics as... I don't even know what this says. Man, I was writing shit at this point. I don't remember. He puts her into the comics for like a bunch of shit. Proposes to her and then she fakes her suicide. That's the end of that. Vanessa. Who the fuck is Vanessa even? Oh, Josh. Okay, so a kid from another autistic kid from his high school, Joshua Martinez, convinced him that Vanessa Hudgens had a crush on him. Like real life Vanessa Hudgens had like a crush on Kristen Weston Chandler, and so Chris like believed this, and he would like make like videos addressing her, being like my heart sweet Vanessa Hudgens, shit like that. It was stupid. It's a minor thing.
My heart.
Now we have the Quickie. The Quickie is a Wikipedia page dedicated to him. They made this Wikipedia page for Christian to have for himself. They were like, here, Chris, this is for you. You can have this as like to fight back against the ED page because this was like all slander against him. He was allowed to put his own shit there, and then like people would moderate it and like edit, so it was like an actual wiki page instead of being like first person and like poor grammar shit like that. One caveat: The people who owned the place would run gay porn ads, ads about Jesus and like, I think maybe Islam and then also autism because he hates being autistic. He made death threats to the people. He made death threats to the people that like owned the site and like hated them with a burning passion. And then the site just got nuked off the internet in like 2010. Most of this information comes from what's currently called the Quickie, but it's known as Sonichu.net, I'm pretty sure, which is just like a site dedicated to him. It just got relabeled as the Quickie after the fact, but it covers a lot more than that one did. Now, the Metal Gear reference, Liquid Chris.
Liquid.
Yes, so the Liquid Chris saga begins right here with Liquid Chris. A new guy on the internet just thought it would be funny if he started doing impressions of Christian Weston Chandler. So like he made like a fake medallion and wore like a striped shirt that vaguely looked like his, and he like combed his hair that way, and he started talking like him and making like uploading videos, like claiming that the Christian Chandler was like the imposter Chris. And so Chris got really upset about this. He called him the brown-shirted imposter, and then everyone started like playing along, and they were like, "Oh, dude, like Liquid Chris is like the real Christian." And like the guy that's been calling himself like taking credit for the Sonichu comic is actually named Ian Brandon Anderson for some reason. It was pretty funny. Like Liquid Chris saga is like the best that this ever gets in terms of like comedy because it's like genuinely really funny. They have a song contest, and like they both make songs or they both like do covers of songs on the internet and then like post them, and then like judges will like determine like who did it better. But Liquid Chris won all of them, not even because it was biased, but because like Chris is just like a shit singer, and Liquid Chris like was actually good. He could play the guitar and shit, so he like just won. He also stole his girlfriend at the time. That's that. Then you have Asperchu. Yes.
When did Chris get a girlfriend?
It was another fake girlfriend. There's like 50 of them. I don't cover all of them because there's so many.
Okay.
Like they're dime a dozen. Asperchu is a parody comic made about Sonichu. We don't talk about Sonichu a lot. It's not really all that important. Basically, some dude makes a comic that like just points out Chris's flaws and like hypocrisies and like makes it abundantly clear to them. And he basically remakes Sonichu, but to make it so that the main character looks exactly like Chris. And he, instead of having high functioning autism, he has Asperger's, which is the exact same thing. And Chris hates people with Asperger's because he says that they take too much attention away from those with autism. He's also an attention whore. It's pretty bad. Anyways, that's pretty much it with that. Not a lot happens. Oh, right. One thing about this is that another thing in the comics, he writes the guy, Alec Benson Leary, the guy who wrote Asperchu, he writes him into the comics and have him get like brutally like tortured and killed. It's really weird because like the rest of his comics aren't like super violent, but this is like gross and like really bad. I mean, it's drawn like a kindergartner would draw it, but like it's still pretty graphic. Mm-hmm. Like a bunch of people from like 4chan and shit, like trolls that had names, he'd like put them on like a fake court in his comic and had them all executed. It was really weird. Surfshark Tito comic or Surfshark Tito saga. New girlfriend, he makes a Little Big Planet video about a book that she's writing and also just gives out her full name on the video. It's kind of stupid. Another instance of him just being generally like stupid about this. Tito claims, or after the girl leaves, who's a separate troll entirely, a guy named Surfshack Tito shows up, claims to have taken his girlfriend and stolen his PSN account. And then Chris calls him like the N-word and stuff. We don't even know if he was black, but he like calls him a shit ton of slurs. He flashes him and then sends death threats again.
Flashes him?
I don't know what to say. He does.
Chris?
Chris flashes him. I don't know why. It's not entirely clear. Alright, anyways. Now, okay, I want to be abundantly clear. I skipped a lot. There is so much here that like it's just not on this board. Like there's too much to cover. It's like from here on, this is like a super bare bones. This is just giving you the basic idea of what happened. Now, the Dark Ages happened. The Dark Ages, basically, Chris is just like, I'm going to leave the internet for good. He says this 5 times and never means it. He leaves the internet for good, and he comes back like a week later every single time, and that's basically what the first exile is. Like, the first, these are the Dark Ages, like, nothing happens, really. It's really boring, and nothing, like, he doesn't do anything, he doesn't post any more comic pages or anything. it's pretty boring overall. He leaves the internet and then also says, he doesn't say this exactly, but in short, tells his detractors to touch grass. He also makes a video where he claims that he was never actually autistic and that he was trolling them the whole time. And it's like him going out to the mall. He's wearing like a leather jacket and like shades. He's like, I was never actually autistic at all. I fooled you guys completely. And it's like super obvious. And he posts this on his YouTube channel after like a month of being gone. And he says like that was his hiatus, like a month. Like he loves the limelight. He doesn't want to admit it, but he loves being the center of attention in this. He meets a new girl IRL. Scares her away after she tries to like help him become a better person, and then she comes back again after the fact, and then her ex-boyfriend comes in, he's supposed to be like a very large burly black man named Lars, but it's just a white dude trying to speak in like Ebonics. It's like really obvious too that it's just like a white dude too, like you never see him, but like it's. Well, it's disclosed later that he is a white dude, but like Chris never saw him. He just talked to him like over the phone and stuff like that. And he had like this really like complex metaphor for like boats and video games. It was weird because Chris would just spend all of his money on video games and shit. If you saw a picture of his room, it might make a bit more sense, but. He spent so much money on video games. He owned video games for consoles he didn't own. He also owned DLC for games he didn't own. Like he just bought shit randomly using his monthly tugboat, as he called it. I'm sure we all know the saying, like, my ship has come in, like when you receive like a paycheck or something like that. But because Chris was getting disability checks and was not getting a lot of money, instead of it being a ship, it's just a little tugboat. So that's what's coming into short. It's a little tugboat, you know?
It's pretty fun.
Anyways, yeah. So you'd spend all that on video games. Lars was like, he functioned as like a metaphor for Chris. He's talking about how he owns all these boats, and he owns parts for boats he doesn't even own, and that his girl Jackie doesn't even want to be with him because he owns too many boats, and like he has to like sell all of them, you know what I mean? So he can take more time to spend with Jackie. And Chris like it just like blows completely over his head. He doesn't get the metaphor at all in the slightest because it's abundantly clear. Like he like spells it out for him. He says like in one of his calls, he's like, I have like all this stuff, I got all these boats and stuff, like how you have video games, you know? Like it's like the same thing, and Chris is just like, yeah, I guess. And then just like, doesn't pay attention. It's how he talks, it's really bad. He starts calling people out. He just like, he claims, he tries to like blackmail the trolls on the internet with, he says like, oh, I'm gonna like release all this information about you guys if you don't, you know, like, take all this stuff about me off the internet. And like he has like no evidence about this. Like half of the shit he had, like half like the blackmail evidence about these guys he's talking about, or it's like fake. Like it's not real. He just made it up, or he found like false information. And then this is where an important step in his life comes in. So for a long time, Chris has not liked dudes in general. Originally, it was more of an extension of his homophobia because he didn't like dudes because it took all of his girls, and the only dudes that were interesting were guys that wanted to fuck him, which is obviously just trolls, right? But like it still bothered him, and like you know his latent homophobia just because of whatever he blames shit on his potentially gay principal, right? So he just like hated guys like a lot of his life. None of his friends were dudes either. So I'm sure we're familiar with the term tomboy, right? Like a girl that acts boyish and is into like certain more masculine activities and traits and stuff like that. So Christian coined the term tom girl, which is the exact opposite, a boy that's more into, you know, feminine activities and whatnot. And this was like the start of his transition at this point, right? So he started calling himself a tom girl. He started wearing like a sports bra in his videos, which also kind of helped because he had man boobs to begin with. So like he probably needed one of those from the beginning, regardless. Yeah. He believed that he like won the blackmail whole situation when like the trolls stopped talking to him because he was boring. Second exile. There's not really a lot to talk about here. The most important thing about this is that his dad passes away at this point. Bob Chandler dies of like a heart attack or something of the sort. And it's like really bad for him, obviously. No one wants to go through that. Like soon after, he gets arrested for the first time for running over Michael Schneider at the game place because his mom and him, like he's been banned for a while, and at certain points throughout the year, he would just go there and start taking pictures of him. I don't know why. He'd go there and take pictures, and then like this one instance, he went inside the store and started taking pictures. And Michael like followed him outside, and him and his mom like got in the car and they like drove and like they hit him. They didn't like hurt him or anything. It wasn't anything bad, but they still got arrested for it. He had to do community service for a while. Most of the shit on here is like Facebook, and then after that, his house burns down because his house is full of garbage, and he had like a coffee maker plugged into his bathroom, and like the wire that like ran into his bathroom that had it plugged in was like shoddy, so it just like started a spark, and then all the garbage in his house like just lit on fire, and it burned his house down. So from that point, he has to move. So that's like where the Dark Ages end. And then we see the Renaissance, which is basically when people start taking interest in him again. It's not really a big deal. Like it's only 3 years here. Not a lot happens. Mostly, so the biggest thing, the main reason that people started giving shit about him again was because Sonic Boom came out. Sonic Boom, like they redesigned Sonic characters, right? So the main thing that bothered him, I don't know why. This is oddly specific, and I'm sure it has something to do with like his tendency to hyper-focus on very specific things, but the fact that Sonic in his redesign had blue arms bothered him to no end. Because in the original design he had tannish arms, like from here down, it was tan. In the Sonic Boom redesign, it's like blue arms the whole way down, and it's like he hated it. Like, so he'd go to like GameStops and like put like signs over Sonic Boom copies saying like don't buy this game. He has like boycott blue arms. He called them like blarms and shit. Like he referred to them as blarms. Yeah, like blarms. This is like the Blarm saga, I guess. He sends glitter bombs to Sega, but he doesn't really know how glitter bombs work. So it's just like an envelope full of glitter, and like they open it up and like nothing happens. They just like throw it out. He gets referenced in the show for Sonic Boom like a few times. Mainly the first one is like a character comments about how they should have never changed the color of a video game character's legs. Right? He gets arrested again. This is the second time he gets arrested because he goes to GameStop and he gets like knocked over a bunch of displays. This is one he's already been banned from. He's been banned from a lot of places. He gets banned from his GameStop. He comes back here, starts like knocking over Sonic Boom displays and shit like that. And then on his way out, he just pulls out a mace and just maces this fucking poor GameStop employee that wasn't even involved in this. He started carrying mace, by the way, at this point to fit his more feminine image.
What is mace?
It's like pepper spray. It's like more powerful pepper spray. It's like cops use it.
Like salt spray.
Yeah. We're back?
Yeah.
Almost done, everybody. Almost done. Just gonna blow through Renaissance shit really fast. So, Blarms maces some fucker, gets arrested again. Don't know really what happens to him there. Gets bailed out by his mom. Talks to some lesbians to see if he can be a sperm donor there. It's pretty gross. He makes like a bunch of really weird YouTube videos to like entice them. But at least he starts uploading on YouTube regularly again. Alright, now we have the P-Mert saga, which is just Trump backwards. He hated Trump so much because of, X amount of reasons. It was fairly hypocritical for him to hate him so much. I mean, whatever, I guess, but Chris also wasn't exactly the best ally of the LGBTQ community before that point. But, he's kind of backpedaling on that front there. He sent death threats to him after the election was over, and his Facebook account got banned for a week. Some animator on YouTube, also, he calls him P-Mert because he believes that saying somebody's name backwards takes away their power.
What?
Don't know why that is. It's relevant in his comic because a lot of his villains are just names of people that have wronged him, but their names are backwards. So
it's ironic when his dad's name is Bob.
He has passed.
That's his fault.
Alrighty. Also, he writes his dad in his comic. Anyways, after that happens. He follows some YouTube animators OnlyFans basically at the time. She blocks him on everything because he's being really creepy to her. Not great. It's just more evidence of him being not great around women. A white knight turned into another troll and started pretending to be his girlfriend. Really, all we got out of this, other than the typical rage videos of him crying over her breaking up with him and whatnot, is that she like artificially inserted like a fat fetish thing into Sonichu, which is weird because everything up until this point that gets added in by the trolls basically is mostly because Chris is writing trolls into the stories as villains instead of them like convincing him that something has to be added to, into the story. Alright, Transcendental Awakening. A pretty shitty name for this whole thing, but it kind of gets the point across that we're not really dealing with our realm in this instance. So, pretty much like the worst thing to come out of this entire era here is the fucking idea guys. The idea guys, I'm pretty sure it's just one dude named Joshua Weiss. He seems to get dicked over by just like so many people. And like this is like really bad too. Basically, Joshua convinces him of a lot of things that he had already kind of been believing in. So, because of Chris's just like deteriorating mental state by this point, the line between fiction and reality starts to blur a bit more and more every once in a while as he continues to, follow through with his dreams, I guess. It doesn't help he went through like 2 traumatic events like back to back immediately before this happened, that being his dad passing and his house burning down. And he's also like really poor by this point. Like beforehand he was like, he could still get by just fine, but like he's living just with his mom and himself and neither one of them work because his mom is like 70 something by this point. Or no, she has to be like 80 by this point, I think. I don't know, some like late 70s or anything like that. Anyways, like they can't work, so he's like their only form of income is just like his monthly tugboat, which we all know isn't that much in his case. Yeah, so like a lot of weird shit happens. Some appearances in Sonichu comics at this point: Nazis, bronies, and marriage to fictional characters. He has a character in his comics named Magi-chan, which is like a psychic type Sonichu, and he draws his dick on a wall and then licks it.
Wow.
Rose, the female like counterpart to Sonichu in the comics, Rose-chu, is now confirmed as trans in this instance, which is like terrifying to him because like his biggest fear for the longest time is people kept photoshopping penises onto Rose-chu, who was supposed to be like a symbol of femininity at that point, but like. You know how there's like gender differences between Pokemon? He drew Raichu with like a pointed tail at the time of the comic because the gender difference didn't exist in the games at the time. So he was like, oh, technically Rose-chu is like a male because it evolved from a male Raichu. So like, it's pretty stupid, but Chris believed it immediately because, he believes everything. Let me see, is this where it happens? Yes, he believes that he's married to like 3 of the characters from his comic books, and he starts to believe in like fiction being real. It's not great for him. Joshua Weiss gets like outed immediately. He gets like doxxed multiple times because everyone's just like, you're like a huge piece of shit because he's like fucking his life over so terribly. Next, guard dogs appear. These are people that like genuinely care about him to a certain extent because these are like when people start turning from just trolls into Christorians. They genuinely care about him, like his well-being. They know he's been through a lot, and at this point, it's like the stuff that's happening to him is mostly just they're just exploiting him, right? For money, for whatever. And they're trying to do him harm. So the guard dogs are there to try to keep dangerous people away from him, which becomes relevant later. Immediately after, the Teen Shroon Squad. Don't really know where his name comes from. It's a group of transgender kids from around his area in Ruckersville, Virginia. They bought his illustrated porn off eBay for like $1,000.
What the?
And they like feed into his delusions. He starts believing in this thing that the idea guy put into his head called the dimensional merge. Basically, what the dimensional merge is in this context. It's not a real thing, obviously. He believes that like there's a multiverse, right? And he believes that in some multiverse, all fictional characters that have ever existed are like real. And like anytime that a fictional character is created, they get brought into being in that universe, right? He believes that like dimensions are like merging together. So like our dimension and the one of fictional characters is merging together. So like he starts talking about like you have to like believe in your OCs and like characters that you really like so that they become real, or like they're friends so that they're friends with you, or like so that they become real when the dimensional merge happens. And he like genuinely believes this. It like becomes his like religion sort of. And at first, I'm sure he probably thought of it more as like a cool idea, but more over time, these people kept feeding into his delusions, and it just kind of meshed with his reality, and he started to genuinely believe it. And this is when like he genuinely starts to lose grip on reality. This one's pretty short. A new My Little Pony show comes out and he freaks out about it. That's pretty much it, as far as I can tell. There's like a brony thing here, TF2 analysis. So it's like a group of bronies that have like a YouTube like animated show where they talk about My Little Pony, but all of them are like My Little Pony like versions of TF2 characters, and like they're not like bad people. Like these people, like they're nice, but he just gets obsessed with it, and then like they acknowledge that he like follows their shit, and it's not like a huge deal. Alright, this is like probably the worst thing that happened until we hit the descent. Jacob Sockness is a man, he's also a very poorly adjusted autistic person. He's a whole nother box, like can of worms to open up, right? Basically what happens is he becomes like obsessed with Chris Chan. He wants to like marry him and like fuck him like a ton. Like it's really weird. Or at least like kinda. It's very strange. It's that, or he wants to exploit him to like the nth degree. So he starts like stalking him, and then the guard dogs and the watchmen have to like kind of take over and like make sure that Jacob Sockness can't get near him. He has like a partnership with Chris for a while. He worms his way into his life by becoming a partner on eBay, being like a middleman for his sales. Because by this point he's getting a lot of money by selling like Sonic 2 merchandise to like people that see him as a lolcow still, right? Because he doesn't have a job. So he'll make like Sonic 2 amiibos or some shit like that by taking a regular Sonic amiibo and then painting it yellow and adding shit with Crayola model magic. Yes,
what's
question.
An amiibo?
So like for Wii U, it's those little like action figure things that you put onto the console and it like scans it in for whatever reason. It's like that. So like he'll make custom versions of those. They're not bad, but they're very obviously just like rips from like other things, right? So Jacob Sockness is just like really bad. He starts like sending threats to him. He talks about how he's gonna like gut him and stuff. It's really bad. He's talking about like all these disgusting things he wants to do to him, and Chris is just like not having it, and everyone has to like. Jacob Sockness planned like going to like a BronyCon thing that was going on. He was like going to go to in like 2020 before the pandemic happened, and the whole plan was like they were all gonna go there together, or like Chris was gonna go there and the guard dogs and like watchmen would go there with him to like make sure he wouldn't get like Jacob Sockness could get nowhere near him because he was like a dangerous person. Like we're talking like the Ricardo Lopez levels of like dangerous, I'm guessing, like Bjork Stalker sort of shit. All that's really there to say about the Watchmen, they're basically like the guard dogs, but these guys are like worse in this to this extent because they're enablers. They like feed into his delusions. They want to see him like be okay, but they also want to see him like deteriorate mentally. So it's not great. They keep feeding into his shit. They get him onto a Discord server, they talk to him for a while, they get like a bunch of Q&As so they can learn even more about him. We get a lot more information about him from this. Not a lot happens in these two sagas. He doesn't really do much. The Renaissance, more stuff happens, but it's really boring from this point on. Because like a lot of this, he doesn't produce any comics or anything. And when he does, it's mostly other people telling him what to put in there. And then here it's just like he streams games on PS4 and it's kind of boring and that's pretty much it. What's most important is that a girl named Isabella comes into his life from the Watchmen. She becomes like close friends with him, and that's super important right here, the final era of this whole thing. We're at the present day now. This is the end game. Literally, like we're at the end. So, shit kind of hits the fan by the time the pandemic hits. The whole Jacob Sockness thing was already a word, and the pandemic happened, and Chris is now shut inside by himself with his mom for an extended period of time, where bad thoughts happen. Not great things occur in his little maladjusted mind. Basically,
What happens?
Okay, so Chris was gonna go to this BronyCon. He gets shut out of it because the pandemic happens. He's stuck at home, and he basically just kind of like has this feedback loop in his head. All these people like enabling him, feeding into his illusion. By this point, he fully believes in the dimensional merge. He's totally like batshit insane, right? Like he's not harmful to others. He wasn't harmful to others at this point beforehand, but like it's definitely to the point now where people are starting to have genuine concern for him. Now, pretty much it's radio silence from this point on. Nothing really happens to him, or at least nobody really cares. Like there are people, like Christorians still pay attention to him at this point, but like beyond that, no one really gives a shit until like summer of 2021. News drops, big fucking news, trending on Twitter, everything. Chris Chan has done what to his mom? It comes out Chris Chan has sexual relations with his mother. Not great. Not a good look at all. No, pretty bad.
How old is she at this time?
Huh?
How old is she at this point?
80s.
What?
And from we don't know for sure. We know about the fucking part. That's like bad enough already. What's worse is that based off the videos we have of him of his streams and whatnot before that point, she probably had dementia. She was barely lucid at all. So she couldn't have really been in the room at all the entire time that anything happened. It's like, this is bad. Like, at this point, he's a genuine, at this, from maybe, here, you can, feel some sort of remorse, being like, okay, this is pretty bad. I feel bad for this guy. I feel empathy towards him. And same for here, you're like, okay, I feel bad for this guy. He didn't do anything wrong, he didn't do anything terrible at least. He just gets made fun of because of, his qualities. But this is where he fully becomes a villain. This is bad. This is terrible shit. Very, clearly. The entire reason that we even found out that this happened is because he had multiple text messages and conversations over the phone with Isabel, this girl from before, where she talked about him, and he's explaining how he finally had a girlfriend and he had sex for the first time in a long time. He'd only had sex one time before this, when he hired a prostitute, and that's when he claimed that his love quest was over, until he realized that a prostitute eventually stops. It is done after you come, that's it. He didn't realize that, so this is the first time he's done it for a while. He's like, I finally have a girlfriend now, and she's like, oh, who is it? And he's like, I don't really want to talk about her too much, I don't really want to talk about her because I don't want people to find out that this is happening, people can start trolling her and stuff like that. And then he was like, yeah, they're a bit older. But hey, it's been the first time in a while that I've had sex, right? That's great. This is painful to read. I've read this over 1,000,000 times. It's really bad. All right. Anyways, not much else to talk about from there. So that happens. You can only imagine what happens after that. I know we are in the South. We're in Virginia, but there are laws against this. Surprisingly, who would have thought? He gets arrested. There's a bunch of videos. There's videos of him getting arrested. A bunch of different angles of it. You get a 360 view, pretty much. Yes. Question.
Yeah. Poor taste.
Yeah. Poor taste. Poor taste.
Indeed.
Yeah. Genuinely. Aaron.
Did somebody report him to the police for the prior events mentioned?
What do you mean? Because of this, or are we talking because he maced somebody?
No.
For this.
Fucked his mom.
Oh yeah. I mean, immediately. When this got posted on the internet, people were hello, Runkersville Police Department. Yes. Yeah. And they already know his address. They know exactly where to fucking report this anyways, right? So it's not like it was hard for anybody on the fucking planet to call the police on this fucker. It happened pretty much instantly. So he got removed from his house. He couldn't go anywhere near his mom. It was okay, you have to stay away from her for 2 weeks or something. You can't be anywhere near her. He goes away and he gets thrown out of the house. He has no money because he's off disability checks by this point as well because of this, right? Government funding is taken away from him by this point because of that, and he's left out. He has a car still, so he's planning on sleeping in a car for the night, right? Now, for reference, the guy who, what was formerly known as the Quickie, became, a lot of stuff from there got put into another, lolcow site called the Kiwi Farms. Kiwi Farms, the moderator for at least Chris's shit, I'm not sure if it's for the whole thing, but the guy that was in contact with Chris for a while, his name was Null on the internet, right? Null had like access to like all of his shit, but he was basically he was one of the guard dogs for Chris. He made sure he was looking out for him, so he had access to like his bank account information, all that shit, to make sure that he didn't spend it on like, or he spent it on stupid shit, but he made sure that like no one was like just outright stealing from Chris, right? Because Chris wouldn't have been, he's not all there in the head to notice it in the first place. So Null is like, okay, Chris, like this is terrible. We don't like at this point we didn't know for sure if everything was true or not, because like this is a single eyewitness, this is like a single person who found this out. And Isabella was like also super deranged. Like she's a terrible fucking person. Like we found out immediately after this that Isabella like tortures dogs and shit like that. Like she's a terrible person. Like she's a whole other can of worms. Yes, question.
So Isabella's like Cruella?
Yeah.
Cruella.
Yes, good point. Yeah. Alright, and alright, so like, we covered the fucking part where he fucks his mom. Not great. You know, pretty bad. He gets arrested. A bunch of videos of him getting pulled out of the motel he stays in. Basically what I was saying last time is Null just told him, hey Chris, just like stay in your car for the night and we'll give you some money in the morning so we can set you up in a place, right? Chris immediately just doesn't give a shit. He logs into his mom's bank account and then wires money to himself, which is against the law. Both because one, because it's stealing. Two, because it violates the contact law. Like the thing he wasn't supposed to contact his mom at any point for like the next week or so after this whole thing happened. For a point of investigation or something like that. So immediately he broke like 2 rules he wasn't supposed to. He immediately gets arrested. There's a bunch of really funny like things he says like in the middle of his court case. I mean, okay, funny to a certain extent, but at the same time it's sad because you can kind of tell that he very much has a childlike mindset at the time, because in the court case he'll like stomp his feet in the middle of or like in his hearing. He'll stomp his feet when his lawyer is just talking to the judge about like what the charges could be, and he'll stomp his feet on the ground and be like, I need to get the stuff at my house. I won't feel safe continuing until I get the stuff at my house, which is just like his PS4, like all of his toys and shit like that. But it's a very childlike mindset. It's really sad, right? I mean, like, you kind of feel like he's not entirely there. I don't feel bad. I feel bad for him because, you know, he's very obviously mentally ill to pretty deep down the rabbit hole there. But like, obviously he did this. He's a terrible person. But I don't know. It's just really just shitty all around. After that, he gets put in jail. There's not much to say about that. This is where we currently are. This is like the latest saga that we're in right now, the jail exile saga. 1 second. Wait for the end. Not much happens. All we really get out of this is that he keeps sending a bunch of letters from prison talking about, you know, life there and stuff like that. So we don't really have much to go on now. I mean, this is like the end. Like his life is basically over. He's in his 40s at this point. Like modern day, he's like 44. He doesn't go on the internet anymore, obviously. He's stuck in prison, and all he does is just plead in his mail to people that people send money to him. He's completely insane now. At this point, he believes he's like the second coming of Jesus Christ. He fully believes that. He believes that he is Jesus Christ, like reincarnated now. Like that's the current arc that we're in. And you can see that in every new letter we get from him, he's further down the rabbit hole even more. Like he talks about the dimensional merge. He'll talk about all the people that have wronged him. He'll keep talking about how like the thing that he did with his mom was actually soul bonding. He was making sure she would be fine when she passes on, so she gets reborn as an OC in the new dimensional merge and whatnot. He entirely believed that like the dimensional merge would save him from all the consequences of his actions here. When he's getting arrested, you hear him shout, "The dimensional merge is coming! Don't worry, believers, I will be safe. And you know, I, Christian, Weston, Jesus Christ, Chandler will like, you know, make sure all of you guys are safe and like I will be okay." Like it's terrible. There's not much to say about this. It's self-evident, really. I plan on reading out like a reference from one of the note letters, but it's just it can't be asked. It's too much. Like we're already having so many difficulties with this, and it's reading one is they're so dense, so we're okay. I think we're gonna call it here. Before we end, any questions? All right, you had a question first before.
Yeah.
Vardhan.
So, do you think that society failed him at his beginning, and then it just dwindled down at adulthood, or?
I think it's not entirely society's fault for this. I'd say that there are societal factors to this, but I would say that his parents made it exponentially worse for him. Because he could have gotten special education, which would have made his situation at least a little bit better, but they completely denied that from him. And it, obviously, he, made it impossible for him to have a normal relationship with anybody at this point. And then from that point, once people found out that he existed, it was just kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy that they kept feeding into his delusions once they occurred. Aaron?
Do we know how long
his jail sentence is?
Yeah.
I think he's projected to get out by 2033.
2033.
Something like that. I can't remember. It's 10 or so years. 15 years maybe.
Can't imagine that would be a good...
We don't even know if he's going to live that long. I mean, he's 44 now, or they're 44 now, and their health is quite... something like that, and their health is already very poor. So, we don't even know. I mean, there's a decent chance that they may not even make it out of there, but, I mean, if they do, I guess we'll get to see what the next era is after that. Probably nothing. I'm just hoping it's rehabilitated in some way, but I'm sure it's no surprise that our prison system doesn't exactly do the best of rehabilitating people, especially people that are already kind of not there. Any other questions, comments, anything?
Just a comment. I'd say I've never felt so much pity and at the same time disgust for one single person.
That's the overarching, that's what you feel reading and hearing about a lot of this shit here. You feel pity for him when he's really downtrodden, but at the same time, he never makes it easy to pity him. Especially now, with recent, not recent, but the most recent happenings with them, it's really hard to say that you want them to get better. I mean, maybe mentally, yeah, but, it's not exactly that they deserve it at this point. Anyways, I think that's it.
Final question. Is there... Do you recommend a source to read Sonichu, and or is it a...
You can read it online.
A proper supplement to what you're here?
If you look it up, you'll find it everywhere. It's free online. You don't have to pay for it or anything. So you can find it online. There's 2 other lectures. There's Sonichu 101 and 102 by Ben Saint on YouTube. Really good lectures. I'm basing this basically off of his because it's just really fucking good. But yeah, I'd say that's a good place to go for Sonichu material. In general, for Chris-chan, the documentary by Gino Samuel is second to none. It's so expansive. If you have a shit ton of time to waste, feel free. All right, is that it? No more questions? Quick.
Thank you, Professor.
All right, I think we're all set. Yeah. Class dismissed.
Oh fuck, that's actually really good, bro.
It was beautiful.
I'm proud of you.